Excuse me, ma'am, is this seat taken?
Yes, it is.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 canceled Disney projects we never got to see.
Do we know anyone, Dorothy? Do we know anyone that can write gigantic hits?
For this list, we'll be looking at the studio's biggest projects that never came to fruition. Which one of these films would you have loved to see on the big screen? Sound off in our comment section after the video. Number 10. Dumbo II. Released in 1941, Dumbo has cemented itself as one of Disney's animated classics.
I knew you could do it! Wait till we get to the big town!
The wholesome tale of a circus elephant who can fly features some of the studio's most tender moments, such as the heartbreaking song Baby Mine. Decades later, in 2001, Disney announced their plans for a sequel with a trailer in the 60th Anniversary Edition DVD release.
The storyline and everything, where we're going, it will be all new, but I think it'll have the same flavor and feeling of the old version.
Unfortunately, Dumbo II never took flight and was scrapped a few years later in 2006. Of course, that wouldn't be the end of the studio's plans for the adorable character. In 2019, the world saw a live-action makeover of Dumbo and his friends under the direction of everyone's favorite gothic fantasy enthusiast, Tim Burton.
Magic dust!
Number 9. Fraidy Cat. Inspired by the master of suspense Alfred Hitchcock, Fraidy Cat is one Disney project that still lingers in the shadows.
How much farther is it, Mr. O'Malley?
Keep your whiskers up, Tiger. It's just beyond that next chimney pot.
In the style of Hitchcock films like Rear Window and Vertigo, the animated flick followed a London house cat named Oscar who's framed for the disappearance of a neighboring pet.
Come on, cats, we gotta split!
Hey, wait for me!
Production was halted after the studio raised concerns that the project was too niche for Disney's young audience. Sadly, Fraidy was ultimately shelved, and this feline thriller never got the opportunity to live out its 9 lives, let alone one.
I've learned to live with it.
I'll show him. Meow.
Hey, cool it, you little tiger.
Number 8. The Emperor's Nightingale. From The Little Mermaid to The Snow Queen, Hans Christian Andersen's works have provided Disney with a wealth of inspiration.
It's time to see what I can do to test the limits and break through.
For decades, the studio intermittently toyed with the idea of adapting Andersen's The Emperor's Nightingale for the big screen. Also known as simply The Nightingale, the fairy tale follows the story of an emperor captivated by a bird's beautiful song, but who eventually abandons it in favor of a mechanical replicate.
Musically speaking, this new bird keeps perfect time, not like...
It has been adapted time and time again for both the stage and screen, but the Disney version unfortunately never came to fruition.
I've driven you from my palace and banished you. Still, you have driven the evil visions away from my bed.
Number 7. A Few Good Ghosts. Following the success of 1998's Mulan, co-director Barry Cook dove into his next big storytelling venture.
Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns.
After pitching a feature adaptation of a ghost story he'd written, Cook returned to the drawing board, and after some rewriting, A Few Good Ghosts was born. Also once known as My Peoples, the story was set in 1940s Texas, where a group of dolls set out to save a young couple from their opposing families.
Hello? Oh, hi, Floyd. I'm watching a movie, but I can see the end coming a mile away.
The project had an all-star voiceover cast, including Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, and Ashley Judd. Blending both CGI and stop-motion animation, the movie had everything going for it. However, the film ultimately was given the boot for 2005's Chicken Little, and Ghosts was sent to the animation graveyard.
I can't take you anywhere.
Number 6. Wildlife. Known for producing family-friendly content, an animated movie centered in the dark world of nightclubs might not seem like the most obvious setting for Disney.
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
However, in 1999, the studio was in the thick of developing a project known as Club Wildlife. The cartoon feature revolved around a failing business on the hunt for a star performer to revive the establishment. After discovering a singing elephant named Ella, fame and fortune turns everyone's lives upside down. Given its mature subject matter, the script was filled with adult humor, which board member Roy Disney was particularly offended by. After viewing a reel of the work in progress, he halted the film, and wildlife was no more.
You really believe that you're gonna be a singer?
Well, yeah, maybe.
Well, then you're just as big a fool as I am.
Number 5. Mort. The Haunted Mansion and The Nightmare Before Christmas are just two examples of Disney exploring the eerie world of the macabre. In 2011, the studio planned to add to its creeptastic collection with Mort.
I want it, oh I want it, oh I want it for my own. I've got to know what is this place that I have found? What is this?
Based on the Discworld novel by Terry Pratchett, the story follows Death's apprentice, a young man named Mort, who makes a decision that results in some major consequences.
What have I done? What have I done?
As cool as the premise sounds, the epic tale's cinematic fate wasn't meant to be. Ultimately, the flick was shelved due to the Discworld rights being too expensive, and the directors behind it moved on to produce Moana.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.
Thank you?
You're welcome.
Number 4. Tam Lin. Filmmaker Roger Allers has had quite a career at Walt Disney Studios. From helping create The Little Mermaid to co-directing The Lion King, Allers has stamped his name across some of Disney's most famous properties.
Look, Simba. Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
After working on Lilo and Stitch, he dove headfirst into bringing one of Scotland's folktales to life. Titled Tam Lin, the story centers around a human who must go through a sequence of tests in order to save her love from the Queen of Fairies.
Come on, Angus. Angus!
Sadly, the pitch was made during a challenging time at the studio. Roy Disney and Michael Eisner were locked in a heated battle over the company's future, and in an alleged power move, Eisner pulled the plug on Tam Lin.
I don't want my life to be over. I want my freedom.
Number 3. King of the Elves. Set for a 2012 release, King of the Elves was one of Disney's highly anticipated projects when it was announced in 2008. Based on a short story by Philip K. Dick, Elves is a whimsical and adventurous tale about a mortal and a group of elves who believe he's their king.
Hey, kid, who's in charge here?
You are. And I'm not a kid. I have pointy shoes that are older than you.
The studio presented a series of artwork that captured the flick's intricate and visually stunning potential. Slated to be crafted using 3D animation, the wheels were already in motion when production reached a standstill in 2009.
Excuse me, are we on a coffee break?
We don't drink coffee.
Then I guess the break is over.
A few months later, development picked up, but director Chris Williams left the project, citing a lack of interest, and Elves disappeared off Disney's radar.
Then there would be millions of disappointed children around the world.
Number 2. Newt. When it was first announced, Newt was slated to become Pixar's next big thing.
Somebody's calling us. Who is it? What do we do?
The movie was supposed to follow the very last male and female blue-footed newts as the fate of their species rests on their shoulders. The only problem? They hate each other. Enemies to lovers, anyone? The funny premise and early artwork made the project appear to be a foolproof success, but the cruel realities of show business had other plans.
How about 23 out of 45? Okay, well, what do you want to do?
A couple of years following the project's announcement, Newt was given the boot in 2012. It's unclear exactly what led to the movie's downfall, but it's been speculated that it was most likely due to narrative puzzle pieces not quite fitting together.
Got any advice? Nothing? Should I know what that means?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Gigantic.
One of my favorite fairy tales of all time. It doesn't really have a definitive version. Is Jack and the Beanstalk.
The outcome of this Disney project is one huge disappointment. In 2015, fans were excited when the studio unveiled its latest venture, Gigantic. An adaptation of the classic fairy tale Jack and the Beanstalk was long overdue, and with a few twists behind it, it seemed like the movie was going to be Disney's next hit.
If you make a movie that has gigantic comedy and gigantic action and gigantic emotion, you're gonna need gigantic music, right?
Frozen's music makers Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez were behind the piano, while Tangled's Nathan Grino was at the helm as director. With a talented team behind the scenes, what could go wrong? Well, sadly, after a couple of years of development, Disney and Pixar announced that Gigantic was canceled due to some creative obstacles. Sometimes, even Disney magic isn't enough to save a story from artistic roadblocks.
And there goes the giant. He's helpless now, tumbling over and over and over.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.